Hi there. In this Microsoft Office Excel video, we'll take a look at conditional formatting as well as how we can insert charts into our workbooks. So I'm going to continue with the example we were using last time, and I'm going to add some conditional formatting to this. So the one thing with conditional formatting is you always want to apply conditional formatting to like values. So if I was, so what conditional formatting allows to do is to basically, we can compare values at a glance. We can see how well those values are doing against other values of the same type. So if I was to add conditional formatting to this spreadsheet, this is 2020, I would compare these values with each other, because these are the individual quarter sales. So I'd be able to see how well first quarter is doing in relation to fourth quarter, as well as how Steve Albini in the first quarter is doing as compared to Paul Cook in the first quarter, or any quarter. Also, I may want to compare these values, but I wouldn't want to compare these values with that value, because of course that's always going to give me the biggest number, right? So that'll obviously look better depending on what colors I use. So we could compare these values, and we could compare these values, including, we wouldn't include that value though, that's the total of everything. So we'd compare those values with each other, we'd compare these values with each other's, and we can compare all of these values with each other. So I'm going to quickly do that. So I'm going to select those values, and I'll choose conditional formatting. And we have a bunch of different options here. As far as comparing which is highest, which is lowest, we've got those ones and icon sets. So the icon sets will basically average things out. So for example, this one here, it'll take all of the values and then divide their average by 5. Anything that's below the 20% will get that one. Anything that's below the 40%, 60%, 80%, they'll get the various sets. I'm going to use the color scales. It's the most obvious. So green, if I look at that, the color scales, I should say, the higher values get green, the lower values get red. So basically we would say, okay, anybody who's red or orange or yellow, we may have to have a conversation with about their sales. So those are warning signs. Or you could do the opposite, of course. You can make the red values higher. Usually I would go with that one there. So I'm going to use those ones. And then for these, I'm going to use one of the icon sets, just so we can see this, how it actually ends up. And I like the 5 numbers. And again, our values are too wide for the columns, so if we can actually do that all at once by selecting them all and then double clicking between any two. So fourth quarter, we weren't doing so well. Third quarter was great. So basically just taking all of those values, dividing by 5, and then assigning an icon depending on where they fall within that average. And this one, I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to use the color bars, but I want them to be beside this value. I don't want them to be within. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on G3, and I'm going to type in equals, and I'm going to click on F3. So as we saw, that'll put that value into that cell as well. If this one changes, so will that one. And I'm just going to autofill that down. And then I'm going to add conditional formatting, and I'll use data bars this time, and I'm just going to use a nice flat color blue data bar. So presently that's giving me the value as well as the bar. I'm just going to make that wider. If you make that column really wide, it actually makes it look quite nice. But I don't want that value in there as well. I already have it right here. So there's already a tendency to match those two up. So I'm going to remove that value. So we need to go into our conditional formatting editing here. So if I choose manage rules, this allows me to add a whole bunch of different conditional formatting that we can't really get into in this video, but your imagination will probably take you there. So if I choose manage rules, it shows me the rule that's presently applied to that selected range of cells, and I'm just going to choose edit rule. This one's presently selected. If we had multiple ones, we'd have to select the rule. And I'm going to choose show bar only, so that'll get rid of the value from there. I'll choose OK, and I'll choose OK. Now you see, you basically get a little column chart right next to your value in the spreadsheet. So that's a bit about data, conditional formatting. I'm going to quickly take a look at something that's similar. That is, it's easy to make a comparison of the values at a glance by looking at charts. So it's a visual representation of data, and it's very easy to figure out who's doing well, who's not doing well, what region's doing well, what month's doing well, stuff like that. So I'm just going to do this for a couple of the quarters. So I'm going to add a column chart for quarter one. So much like the conditional formatting, you only want to compare like values. So you don't want to include any of your totals. Of course, they're going to be the biggest, so there's no basis for comparison there. So what I'm going to do is select A2 to D7 in my situation. So I'm leaving those totals off. I don't want to compare those. And this will be a column chart. So a column chart will allow us to have a lot of different ranges. So we can have Steve Albini for January and February and March, whereas with a pie chart you'd only be able to get one single set of values. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to click my column chart here. Columns right here. And I'm going to use my, actually I'm partial to this one lately, the clustered column. Nice flat colors. And once you insert that chart, you get the chart context sensitive ribbon up here in the title bar, and then it's got two sets of tabs here, or it's got two tabs with sets of commands in each of those. So generally I want my chart to be its own sheet. Presently it'll be in the same sheet. I want it to be on its own page. So I'm going to click on Move Chart, and I'll put it in a new sheet, and I'm going to call that QTR1 column. I'll use a call for columns so my tab names don't get too wide, otherwise they get difficult to navigate. I'll choose OK. Now I have this QTR1 column. I'm just going to put it after QTR. So this is something we haven't seen before. If you want to move these sheets around, you can just drag them and you get that little arrow that indicates where that sheet will be when you let go of the mouse. So I'm just going to put that right after quarter one. There we go. And notice it presently has a chart title here, but there is no chart title. So we can just click inside of that and then we can give it a new title. I'll just call it first quarter or something like that. And notice it picks up the salespeople's names, because when I made my selection, I selected the salespeople. And notice it picks up the month names, because again, when I made my selection, I also selected the months. If you only select the values, you will get neither of those. So you have to be careful what you select. And then we have a lot of different formatting options here. So for example, if you want to swap these around, you want the months to be here and the salespeople down here, so you just basically end up with 3 values and then 5 values within each group. You can also switch row column. If you need to reselect your data, you can click on Select Data, and then notice it pops me into where the original data is, and I can reselect if you needed to add or remove something. For example, if you neglected to get the month names. And then we have a bunch of styles here. We have some layouts. So I like the layout just fine, but if you want additional information or you want to get rid of elements, you have all of these different layouts that you can see if you mouse over this. Bunch of different options there. I like the stock layout though, so I'm just going to leave that as is. If you need to change any of the formatting on the values, you can just do that just like we changed the formatting of any cell. So you can just go back to your home here. If you want to make that a little bigger, for example, change the color. That works with any place you see text. You can change any text in that manner. You can also change the color of the objects. So notice if I click once, that selects all of these objects. If I click once again, I'm just selecting one. So, for example, Garth did really well on this March sale, so I could make that maybe yellow and gold, yellow and glowing or something like that. So I have just that one selected. Notice I have the little handles there. Sorry, format is what I wanted actually, and then I could just change the fill color. And we also have effects. So if I want to add a glow, because he did so well. Now that one shines greater than all of the other ones. However, if you just wanted to change the color, maybe we don't like this this orange, we could select that orange and change all of those. If you just click once, you're just changing them all. And you can do that with every single element in the chart. So if I click on this plot area, you have a bunch of fill and outline options there, as well as the chart area. Notice I get a little flag when I mouse over various things. The chart title, we can add a different fill and effects, just like we did to that. So the next one I'm going to add is a pie chart. So for Q2, I'll just quickly add a pie chart for that one. So in this situation, pie charts, you can only select one set of values. Otherwise, it'll be several pies. So I want the salespeople, and notice I get that empty cell there because I want the word total as well. Now, to select non-adjacent arrays or cells, you can hold down Control. So now I have 5 cells over here selected, and I have 5 cells over here selected. Sorry, 6. So 6 cells here, 6 cells here. And now, when I create a pie, it'll be using those names, the word totals, and those values. Again, because I selected the names. So I'll go to Insert, and I'll use my pie chart. I'll go with this one this time. And again, I always move those charts onto their own sheet. And I'm going to call that QTR1 pie. And OK. And again, you can change anything about this. One thing about the pie charts, I like the names to be right on the slices, so you don't have to look at what's blue and then look at the actual which guy is blue. So if I go to Quick Layout, we have that option there, and you might want to add a title. So notice it gave you the title of that column. So that's for Q1 totals, so I could change that. Sorry, Q2 totals. Not January, or sorry, not April, not May, not June, but the entire Q2 total. And again, you could change any of these colors. So again, Garth did really well, so we could make that glow. So under Format, Effects, Glow, I'll make that a big yellow glow. And again, you can modify any of these you want if you want to make these a little larger. If I just click on one of these, they all become selected. So I can go home and increase the font size. So that's conditional formatting and charts. Thanks so much for watching.